Tyreek Hill now, Miami Dolphin. Um, I'm gonna start off by saying, everybody, please don't forget to hit the like, the bell, the sub for this channel. As Ryan and I continue to try to bring you breaking news and things like that, this is inevitable. How you can get this out to other Chiefs fans, how you can continue to get updated as these things go down. And I'll tell you what, I think I'm actually very positive that Tyreek Hill had himself a no trade clause. There's a reason that the Jets were not going to be the deal that the Chiefs ended up getting in terms of where he wanted to go. Tyreek chose Miami, so that's ended up being where it was. Okay. And the reason you consider Miami is because he's not going to play for you. Okay. You are trying to get something out of him. And at the very most, they were able to get something. I mean, we're going to get into the actual trade details here in a second. So I'm going to pull it up for everybody. I know that everyone's upset and they're trying to deal with this and be as non-emotional as we can. I'm going to try to deliver you guys the information, what we can try to hope for in terms of everything. But this is the deal as it stands. The Chiefs are going to get the 29th pick in this year's draft, a second, which is 50, I believe, this year, fourth this year, then the fourth next year, and a sixth next year. That's the compensation for Tyreek Hill, and then him landing that, what is it, 3-year, $70 million contract that he's getting. So, yeah, that's the deal. All right, he's going to Miami for 29, 50 this year, a fourth this year, and then a fourth and a sixth next year. That's what we know as of now. There could also be more things that end up coming out. I would imagine probably not going to happen, but that's how it stands now. I know this is not ideal. He's getting $25 million a year now for what he's going to average in Miami. Personally, the way I feel, I don't necessarily think that this is a good valuation, but you also have to remember that NFL teams work on a point system, they have a trade system, things like that. And really, the trade equivalent of what the Raiders got or gave up for Devontae Adams was about 359 points, which equaled the 11th pick this year. That's kind of how it works. But again, I think we're seeing right now in Kansas City an adaptation, not only to the way that the offense is going to be played, but how they have to handle things going forward. It's not going to be everyone can get paid, okay? And as much as I love Tyreek Hill, there's no one. I'm going to get this right out of the way. There's no replacing what Tyreek Hill brings to the field. There's no replacing what he does, the attention that he commands, and everything that he does for an offense. There's nothing. There is no Tyreek Hill. There is no way you can reasonably say, like everyone's reporting, that Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to come replace Tyreek Hill. That stuff doesn't happen, okay? This is one of those days also where I really wish that this was an 18-plus stream and channel so that I could kind of get some words out there. But this is not obviously an ideal situation, okay? They were offering Tyreek Hill a contract that would have made him among the top paid wide receivers in the NFL. I believe I think that his agent had inside information, if I'm being honest with you. I think he had information that Devontae Adams was going to be extremely paid, okay? So he told Tyreek to wait. So he told him to wait. Then it happened, okay? And there is so much that goes into players getting paid, and sometimes it's not going to be about loyalty. That's kind of gone the way of the dinosaurs we've seen, and I understand that. I'm trying to do everything I can, guys. I'm going to try to get into some of the things that they're going to be able to do. I'm going to try to console you at the same time while keeping it honest with what I think is going to happen. what we're seeing right now in the NFL landscape is teams going through. Okay, they're trying to find ways to compete. The Chiefs were the team in the NFL the last 4 years. That's what they were, and now we're seeing a really big change in the AFC, the change of the landscape. They're trying to go win Super Bowls now, so they have a way to compete with them. Now the Chiefs have to look at their own landscape. What are they supposed to do when Tyreek Hill, is going to get this money? They haven't been hitting on a lot of their draft picks. They've been trading their first round picks for proven players who come up and have to get paid too. So this is not only a little bit of a way that they're not handling some of the situation correctly, but they're making decisions. They brought in Orlando Brown Jr. last year knowing that he was going to have to get paid. Tyreek Hill is 28 years old. He's turning 29, maybe not soon, but he's going to be turned 29. And contracts at that stage for NFL players, even guys as unique as Tyreek Hill, they don't want to necessarily pay them that. And I think that the Chiefs already showed that they were willing to pay him quite a bit for being in Kansas City. And whatever happened behind the scenes, whether it was his agent that said to wait, whether it was Tyreek kind of maybe talking to Davante Adams on the side, we don't have any information on that. It's all just kind of stuff that we can insinuate into the situation. But whatever happened, he decided to wait it out until that trade happened, and then Davante Adams got paid. And when some things happened a few years ago with Tyreek Hill, and as much as the Chiefs were honest with them and he was upfront with the Chiefs, they handled that situation. He had to take a team friendly deal. Now, whether that rubbed him the wrong way because he wasn't being paid what he felt like he was being paid, and maybe he thought slighted by this contract extension they were offering him, which I mean, it could be. I don't really have anything to say otherwise, but it's all coming down to they didn't have the requisite funds to pay Tyreek Hill at 28 years old. And I mean, like I said, they offered him the contract, but he wanted something different. You can't always be able to pay that. And I get it to an extent. But when we go over to the compensation, I can't. What's killing me about the compensation is they didn't get a player. Okay. They didn't get a player. And when you're in these situations, they have 29 and 30 in this year's draft. 2 back end first round draft picks. Maybe they're thinking about trying to move up for somebody, but what is that going to accomplish in one of the worst drafts that we've seen in the last 10 years? This is in comparison to 2013 NFL draft where there weren't many hit rate on players, okay? So I don't necessarily love the compensation. Obviously, you have an extra first this year. You have an extra second this year. So getting those top 100 picks, 100 picks is a good thing. I would have liked to see them get a player, a proven player. I know they wouldn't be able to get a Jalen Waddle. He was off limits. That was never going to happen. But maybe, Howard, Xavier Howard would have been somebody to bring up. I don't know. Something like that. But all I'm going to say about the compensation, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the fallout, things we can expect from them maybe going forward, is you get what you get. And I know it's not fun to hear, but you did get a lot more than the Raiders gave up to get Davante Adams. And at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs felt for a guy who wasn't going to play for them this year, who they would want to get something out, period. And right now his value is higher than it's going to be next year because he's going to be another year older. You try to get what you can. And I think, was it 5 or 6 picks? It's not ideal because you have to hit on those picks now. And I'm hoping that the trajectory of the draft, the way that Veach has gone about it lately, the last couple of them, they've hit on some good players and they've gotten progressively better. I'm hoping that they really take time and do what they can to maximize, add younger, better players to the roster with the picks that they have, and really try to maximize the potential that they have. And that's what you're going to have to do. And we talked a little bit about this on Monday. You have to get younger. One way to do that is through the draft. And I know that this draft isn't great. but you're going to find ways to get through it. Okay. Okay. Now that we got all that off the picture, I appreciate y'all being here. This is a huge day, and I'm extremely so. Yes, I did tweet that I was pretty sick about it initially, and I am pretty sick. Okay, like it's not fun to trade your best receiver in the world. Like it's not fun to have that realization happen in the last 2 to 3 hours. It's not. But I appreciate the super chat, Des. How much cap does this free up? I don't have the numbers in front of me. That's not something I currently have, but I can look it up since this is live and, try to see what his cap hit was going to be this year. If anyone has that information, that would be awesome. I would imagine it's about 20 million, something like that. I think that his cap hit was about 19 ish, but I'm going to try to pull up the Chiefs right here. If I can manage this while I'm trying to do this. Go away, ads. I know there's going to be a lot of conversation in here, guys. Okay, so his cap hit this year was $21 million. That's what his cap hit was this year. So there's probably more in terms of bonuses and stuff like that. So there is now room for them to possibly make a trade if that's what they're going to do. It's possible. And again, there's a lot of positions on this team that they need to go, especially at defense. I think that we're going to be seeing that being used. So I think it's about $21 million, maybe up to 25, depending on bonuses and things like that I have yet to see. Thank you for the super chat, Duggins or Doug. I'm shocked, Dan. Record for the Chiefs this season. I'm going to refrain from doing anything record related because one, it's March. We don't know what the roster is going to look like by the time the season gets here, by the time the draft's over, by the time the first week of OTAs are. I don't have anything to give me a good projection for that. So as much as I want to tell you something that would make you feel better about their record this season, there's not enough information for me to even make an educated guess. So I'm going to do what I can. I don't necessarily think that it's that it's going to be what we've seen from them, but you never know. Like I said. All right. So now that they have a little bit more cap space, we're going to talk a little bit about what they can do. And I know that, like we've talked about this draft not being great, but the more picks you have, maybe they're trying to find someone that they can trade one of these picks for that's already a proven player that maybe isn't going to be as expensive as Tyreek Hill. I know everyone's really, really upset. It's not, I know everyone's upset. I know. Just try to think a little bit about how they can go about this, what they can do to keep some talent and to get better. It's going to be what it comes down to, is how they can take this and maybe get a little bit of positivity out of it. I'm going to try to flip it for you guys. It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world, but I'm going to try. So what we've seen the last 2 years is teams identify Tyreek Hill as the guy. Okay. He's what's created a lot of these two deep safety looks. Okay. That's made this happen. Okay. There's one undeniable fact about this trade. The Chiefs are going to have to change the way that they play offense. This is going to force their hand to change. It's going to make them do things differently. Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes were a safety blanket. Let's just call it what it was. It was a safety blanket. Mahomes went to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce the majority of the time because they're legit players. Like that's what it is. They're elite players in the NFL. Now you have to adapt. How are they going to adapt? So you bring in Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not talking about Mark Valdez-Scantling. He's not a very good player. He's basically McCole Hardman with a little bit more twitch. Okay, that's pretty much what he is. So you have Juju Smith-Schuster. You have McCole Hardman. Now you have a guy you took last year, Powell. Do we know if he's going to be anything? No. You have to start drafting receivers. There's a guy out of Alabama who's hurt, tore his ACL. Jameson Williams that could bring not Tyreek Hill speed, but another McCole Hardman type speed. I think that that's perfectly reasonable to expect. Maybe he's not ready for the beginning of the season, so maybe you're not comfortable doing that. I want to see them go get Jameson Williams. I would. I want to see one of these draft picks turn into a player with legit upside. Okay, I know it's not something that you can count on happening. And Tyreek Hill is a 5th round pick. That's not remember forget that he was a 5th round pick. He probably would have been more had his things not gone poorly in college, but I'm trying to turn it on its head. So you do have some things we've asked, everyone's asked the Chiefs offense the last couple of years to change things up a little bit. Specifically this past year, they've asked to change things up. They have to now. There's no two ways about it. And we're going to be seeing a relative change from the norm. Travis Kelce isn't going anywhere. I mean, I'm pretty sure I said on Monday that Tyreek Hill wants to stay here the rest of his career. So that didn't end up coming to fruition. So I'm going to knock on wood a little bit here. But I do think that Travis Kelce is going to be here for a little bit. Oh, I needed some coffee. This news actually happened as I was getting my Starbucks, and I was so upset. I think the people at the drive-thru thought I was mad at them. All right, little caddy, thank you for the super chat. This sucks because I love Reek, but what if we go get Jarvis and capitalize on picks? Or are you maybe okay on this? So this is kind of what I'm talking about, is you trying to find a little bit of positivity in this. They do have to change. I don't think Jarvis is a guy that you can bring in now that you have Juju Smith-Schuster. Those guys they're not the same player. I think Juju has clearly more juice and upside, but Jarvis is a middle of the road, a guy inside 20. That's pretty much what he is. He's not going to be a deep threat. I'm going to refrain from saying okay, because we need to see the landscape change out on this. But like I just mentioned, it's going to force them to change the way that they do things, the way that they not only do business, they do offense, the way they have to adapt now. They have to be in an actual adapting offense. Andy Reid doesn't necessarily have the best track record with adaptations in the past, but this is Patrick Mahomes we're talking about, the best quarterback on the planet. So there's going to be a level of give and take with Patrick. Are they going to start doing a little bit more of the 50-50 balls that we've talked about? Maybe Patrick has a little bit more impact on the offense in terms of what he can say and have done. We're going to have to really see what ends up happening here, because a lot can change. A lot's going to change. And I think at the end of it, we can't just say, okay, they have Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be fine. We have to see them actually take steps to improve offensively. But appreciate the super chat, little caddy. Thank you, Darius, for the super chat. I'm going to fall in line and have faith, but this hurts. Since the offense changes, does it become a priority in the draft? Wide receiver absolutely becomes a priority in this draft, especially if you're not going to be trading one of those first 2 picks, but they're back-to-back now. So maybe they've been targeting somebody. Maybe they're looking in that area to try and target. I don't know. But they did find a way to get another top 100 pick, the 50 pick in this draft. They found a way to get a couple fourths, which they've had. I don't remember if they've had decent success, but L'Jarius Sneed was a 4th round pick. So there's some success that they've had, been able to scout. But yes, wide receiver 100% becomes a priority in this draft. Oh, what's up, Julian? How you doing, man? Williams would excel in Tyreek's spot. Exactly. I think that's what we're looking at. We're going to kind of see where he ends up falling. But I do think that Jameson Williams makes the most sense in terms of player that gives you that deep threat juice, but also has a little bit of room to grow underneath, but also can produce that. I thought that McCole Hardman could be, but he hasn't been that twitchy player that Tyreek Hill is. But Williams is 6'1". He has a little bit more size, bit more ball skills, and has the ability to do some things that are different. All right, guys. Catching up on the comments. I know we got lots of comments, lots of comments. So I will answer some questions here. We do have some things, some time here. My daughter is watching a movie and eating her lunch, so I have a little bit of wiggle room with what I can do. So I will answer some questions. I'll find some things in here. But again, it's not fun. It's not a fun thing to really think about. It sucks to have that realization come in so quickly and have it being done so fast. Thank you, Chris. Where would you spend the 21 million we saved? I don't know. I don't know right now, unless they're trying to, like I said, trade one of these end of the first round picks for a guy that they can pay. I'm not entirely sure where they're going. Maybe they're looking to go in and get Stephon Gilmore. Maybe they're trying to find some wiggle room to sign him, and that's what they're trying to do. But that's what I would say. I think that maybe they're looking at still upgrading defensively in this offseason as it stands. Robert, Julio Jones, I'm out on Julio. Like, I know that he's an elite supreme talent. He's over 30, over the hill now in terms of what he can do, and he's just not on the field enough anymore. If you could guarantee me he plays a full season, yeah, I would 100% be down for Julio. But I can't guarantee that. All right, so I'm just keeping up with the Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport stuff while we're doing this. Zach B. Sky Moore. See, that's not somebody that I'm drafting in the first round, and I don't think that Sky Moore has an elite upside. I think that he's a good player. I don't think he's going to be somebody you take in this draft and hope to be elite. All right, Andrew. Do you think there's any possibility of a DK Metcalf trade? If not, Calvin Ridley. So I'm going to say probably not on both of those accounts. Maybe Metcalf would be the more likely situation, the more likely scenario. But Calvin Ridley currently is facing an indefinite suspension from the NFL, and I do think it eventually gets overturned. But there's no way to really say what's going to happen in that situation. So they're definitely not going to hamstring themselves with going after Calvin Ridley. But DK Metcalf is definitely more of a possibility, but then you're going to have to pay him too. Like, that's the thing. You're going to have to elite pay him. So that's one of the problems with trading for an elite wide receiver now that's already proven to be elite. You're going to have to pay him too. I think the Chiefs are trying to get younger at the position and get some more years out of these guys. So I thank you for the super chat, Darius. Appreciate it. Could you see us trading up for an edge and grabbing a receiver in the draft? And the second, yes, I do think that that's a possibility. They have the ammunition now to go up and get somebody if they start to fall. The problem is for me that I really wish you could have gotten one of those firsts from the Jets and guarantee yourself that someone falls or that you can get somebody. But this is what they were able to figure out. Both teams submitted a trade to the Jets and the Dolphins, but Tyreek chose to go to Miami to play with Tua. I want just to clarify, to play with Tua. Okay. Anybody coming in that doesn't know the compensation, they got a first this year, 29, 50 this year. They got a fourth this year, a fourth next year, and a sixth next year. Yes, Jonathan, I do think that Jameson could be the new target, but again, we're going to have to see where he ends up in terms of his rehab, how he's dealing with when he's all this comes down to when's he going to be able to play. If they are comfortable and he's falling to them in the first round and they're comfortable letting him develop and be okay and say he's not ready till November, that's something you have to weigh. I know everyone's saying we got robbed, and while I don't disagree with the compensation for an elite player, it's one thing when teams know that he's not going to play for you this season, and they also know that he has to get paid. So they have to measure up. This is one. It's not a edge rusher, and it's not a quarterback. So the compensation starts to get a little bit different. You can an elite defensive edge, like an elite defensive end, can possibly garner you 2 firsts. Possibly. Quarterbacks in their own realm. Wide receivers are still not going to garner more than 1 first round pick at a time because of the way that wide receivers have been developed and why the wide receiver pool and talent pool has ballooned so dramatically over the course of the last 10 years. So while they didn't get 2 firsts for him, they did get another top 100 pick, another second round pick. And you do have to remember that they were able to hit on both of their second round picks last year. So trying to put it in a filter where you have a little bit of wiggle room with some of the things you can do, but the team that's taking on that new contract that from Tyreek Hill also has to say we can't pay a guy who's going to be 30, almost 30 this coming year that much and give up more than one first round pick. So while I understand it's not fun to deal about, when you break it down and you think about it that way, I think both sides were given up something very expensive. With the Dolphins, it was a first and a lot of money, and the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. So it doesn't look on the surface that it's equal, and it might never end up to being equal. The only way we'll know is if Tyreek Hill has elite seasons with Tua Tagovailoa, and the Chiefs end up don't having a great offense anymore. All right, sorry, just got a little tangent there. The WAR rating said we got a better deal than the Packers did. What do you think? That's kind of what I tried to explain at the beginning, is that they got more for Tyreek than the Raiders had to give up for Devontae. The only thing about that realization is the money. So it's pretty much because he's younger. So when you look at it from that lens, it's a better deal. It still isn't what you would probably want. And that's because as good as Devontae Adams is, Tyreek Hill impacts the defense, or impacts defenses and offenses in a way that even Devontae Adams can't do. So it's tough. I know that there's going to be a lot of talk about Brett Veach and him failing and them trying to figure this out, but let's just try to separate Brett Veach and the situation from the player and the contract negotiation, his agent. Drew Rosenhaus is one of those guys that is going to always try to get you top dollar. Okay. That's what he does. It's what he's best at. And when you consider that, I believe this is probably not true, it's probably not accurate, but again, I believe in my soul, in my heart, and in my gut that Drew Rosenhaus told him to wait this out, because I think he knew Devontae Adams was not going to stay in Green Bay, and even if he was going to be paid like nobody's business. So what happens? They wait. We get the information that the Chiefs offered to pay him like one of the top receivers in the NFL, be paid as one of them. He turns it down. Okay. Come back today, and we see that the Chiefs don't have the money to pay him what he wants. $25 million a year for Tyreek Hill on average is not going to be something that makes fiscal sense for them right now. It doesn't. I'm sorry that sucks. It sucks for us. It sucks for them. It sucks for Patrick Mahomes. They all wanted to have Tyreek Hill there. They like I said, they offered it to him. But at the end of the day, you can't make Tyreek Hill and his agent accept your offer. You just can't do it. So they made him the offer. He turned it down. And again, they were willing to make him one of the highest paid receivers in the NFL. We don't know what the number was that they offered yet, but they did offer it to him. So I'm convinced that while Brett Veach was not able to get Tyreek Hill to stay in Kansas City, he did what he could. And at the end of the day, Tyreek Hill chose to be traded. Those are two facts, and I'm willing to accept them. Maybe it's not fun, but I'm going to accept them. Okay. Whew. Now that we're all kind of, I know it's not going to be something that makes you guys feel any better. I do think that adjusting the offense is best for the team going forward. I do think they could have done it with Tyreek Hill, but them being forced into a position where they have to change ultimately might be the best situation and best scenario for them. All right. So I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I'm going to be getting off. Been a little bit over a half an hour here. I have to put my daughter down in a little bit. But but we'll probably revisit this in the coming days. So thank you, Jonathan. Does this make the Juju trade look worse since he's not the normal number two and his production as a one wasn't great? So they didn't trade for him, first of all. It's a 1 year, $3 million deal at base, which you really can't make the Juju situation look worse. I mean, look bad because it was great. It's a great signing, in my opinion. So I got no issues with what they did there. If you guys are trying to ask questions, remember to put the question marks in front so I can pick them out. But I did want to address the Kirk situation. That changed the situation too. That's probably what and inevitably made them wait. I think that could have been one of those things that look, they saw Christian Kirk get 18 million a year, 17 million a year, whatever it was on average. They knew that this was going to explode. I thought the Kansas City was going to be the place that he ended up, which, and like we said, they made him the offer and he turned it down. So that definitely had the impact. And yeah, please, there's over 1,000 of y'all in here today. Thank you so much. Please make sure to hit that like. We're trying to get everybody in here, trying to get new people into the RGR family. So please make sure to hit that like. All right. All right. So the cap space situation, I'm going to address it one more time here. That does free up about $21 million in cap space for the Chiefs this year without Tyreek Hill on the books. So they're probably going to be sitting around 27-ish off the top of my head. Don't quote me on it because I'm not a cap expert, one, and I'm not a source for cap information, two. So just remember that. I think that I'm kind of having one of those equating to possibly like plus or minus a few million, maybe. So 27 could be definitely what they're looking at. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Coleman. This makes sense. Income-free tax Florida. Yeah, it doesn't have the history of the Kansas City media lying about him. You know, I'm less inclined to believe that had an issue, that was what played into it more so than him having to take a pay cut the first time. And you can't ever make that money up. If there's one thing that we've learned is that players, you can't make up that money you miss out on. And so what he's trying to do is the Kansas City offered him to be one of the highest paid receivers in the NFL. So he leveraged it. He said, no, I think I can make a bit more somewhere else. Ended up being Miami. And he makes about averaging $25 million a year, which ridiculous. Okay, so I've seen quite a few talk about Matthew. I think that there's a chance, but you're creating a little bit of a toxic environment if you bring Tyrann Mathieu back, who was the leader of this defense. You just replaced him with Justin Reed, and he's going to be a part-time player. Tyrann Mathieu comes back, he's not a starter. Or Justin Reed's not your starter, the guy you just paid. So you're trying to figure out, one, would he come back? Two, how much are you going to pay him to come back? Three, how can you convince him to take that money, maybe less money, and also play less snaps and not be a team leader? I'm not entirely sold on that situation working out. Yes, the Chiefs will inevitably be getting younger. 100%. 72 million guaranteed. Yeah, it's a lot of money, guys. It's a lot of money. All right, I'm gonna do a couple more and then we'll peace out of here. Is it just me or we have been bleeding? Oh, thank you for the question, John Doe. Sorry. Is it just me or we've been bleeding out more talent than bringing in some? I think that's not necessarily a wrong way to look at it. They haven't been able to adjust to really draft the best talent because they've been taking some of their firsts and lending them to other teams for proven players. We'll just put that in quotes. So while that's the case, they now have to rely on their ability to draft, and it's got to get better. There's no questions. They're going to have to hit on some players in the first round. They're going to have to hit players on the second round, third round, everywhere. So yeah, it's getting crazy. All right, one last one here. I do appreciate you all checking out the channel. Incredible news, bad news, not great, but again, thank you for joining me on this live edition. I thank you, Eat, Drink, Be Berry. Do you feel there's enough draft talent this year to take advantage of the six-ish top 100 picks Kansas City has? That's that's it right there. I think the top 100 are stacked in terms of players that have upside, but also an ability to come in and have a decent floor. I think that there are a lot of players that you can come in, improve your positions, get younger, and also have some upside still. So while it's not a great draft in terms of the elite talents, which are only in the top 10, top 15, that after that is where you're going to start to get players and guys that fill out a roster that you can actually count and possibly having upside. And that's probably what they're trying to do here is get as many, dart throws as they can. So I actually have the Jets trade offer to Kansas City up right now that Kansas City would have accepted. Okay, it did not include a first round pick, but multiple picks that were commensurate to the Dolphins offer. What is this kind of stuff, Adam Schefter? What are you trying to just tell me what it was? Tell me what the trade was. So it might have ended up being better that he went to Miami than the Jets. So maybe if it didn't include a first, then no, then I'm all out on that nonsense. All right, guys, I appreciate you all being here so much. Please remember to hit that like, the sub, the bell notification, everything. Trying to get everybody into the RGR channel, RGR family, and you guys all being here over 1,000. Incredible. And I know that it's not the best of circumstances, but we're going to work. We're going to get you guys ready for draft season because now this has become their most important draft in years. Let's be honest about it. In years, the Chiefs have to get better. They have to get younger. They have to get real players that can come in and improve this team at the floor level and have room to work their way up. That's just what it is. So we're going to get you ready for the draft. We're working in the next couple of, we're thinking hopefully the next couple weeks, close to 3 maybe, that we're going to get this draft guide for you guys out. Awesome, awesome, Tyreek Hill. Hope you have the best time in Miami, catching passes from Tua Tagovailoa that ended up falling short because you're the best deep receiver in the NFL and he can't throw a deep ball. So peace out, Tyreek. You guys have a great day. And thank you so much, HD Dreamin, for the super chat. Appreciate you being here. Again, one more time. I'm sorry, guys. I know that it's not the best of circumstances, but you all are the best fans in football. And hopefully you all stay with the team in terms of fandom. And we're going to keep bringing you guys content every single day. Try to have a good day, and I'll see you next time.